complaining that writing or a game is made up of tropes is like complaining that a tree is made out of wood. That was wisdom given to me by some random Twitter post I saw like 3 years ago, and the origin of it is lost to time.
There is no meme. This is just a threat.
But that's something I really wanted to talk about. Because, in my opinion, one of the things Fire Emblem does best is its ability to take tropes that it uses over and over again and actually turn them into something really cool and different almost every time, to almost consistently surprise you that things are better that things are more engaging than you might think. So today, I wanted to look at 2 supports that follow a similar idea, a princess falling in love with her knight, and show how the exact same concept in back-to-back games can be done very differently. So, the first one I want to look at is Lynn and Kent. So, just for starters, Lynn, fairly well known by now, I would think, but she is a princess, doesn't really necessarily enjoy being nobility, and Kent, on the surface, is just the serious one. His job is all he does, he's a knight that always knights. So let's see how their support either challenges or supports that. Supports. So, the C support begins with Kent looking after Lynn, because that is a part of Kent's character. He's a worrywart. He's always looking around and basically overanalyzing everything he sees. And Lynn is very self-conscious about her swordplay. The first thing she does is bring up that she thinks he's doubting her ability to fight, because she takes great pride in her swordplay. This is shown off in her Hector support as well, so she's kind of puffing out her chest going, "You think I'm weak, bro? Huh? Huh?" And Kent's like, no. He's aware Lynn's a boss, but he's just worried. So it's not really the place that Lynn is afraid of, he's just a worrywart. So okay, it's nice and sweet. It's just Kent caring about Lynn and making sure she's not overdoing it. And then Kent says this: "He is the Lady Lindis' servant. It is his duty." And Lynn doesn't seem too happy to hear that. Now, if a woman gives you 1 ellipses, it's probably nothing to worry about, happens all the time. But if she gives you 2 ellipses, back to back, that can be where you know you're in some trouble. But Kent doesn't get it. He doesn't realize he said something wrong. And then the support just ends. So, okay, if you're observant and you can kind of understand, if you're an empath who can hijack into characters' brains, you can probably figure out why Lynn is upset at what Kent said. If not, you're left with, I think mystery might be a bit of a grand term, but you're left wondering why she's upset, and in turn, that would make you want to check into the B support. It makes you want to come back for more. So, okay, let's see how Kent manages to continue here. So it starts the same way. He's noticing that something's wrong. He's being a worrywart, he's looking after her, and he's observant. He's actually noticing that something's wrong. And he brings up that her swordplay... Oh no, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself. He again brings up that how could he face her grandfather, the Lord, if something happens to her? Again, if you didn't understand it before, this support chain right here is really hammering in why Lynn's upset. Because a part of her character is that she feels like she doesn't belong in the nobility. So, to have Kent stare her face to face and basically keep saying that he needs to watch over her because that's what knights do for the nobles, you can see how that would really bother her. It's more forcefully hammering in that she doesn't belong, that they're only doing it for reasons she doesn't really get. So Kent goes on, and is like, "You're not your usual self, whatever is wrong?" And Kent just cannot pick up on the hints. He's like, "Can I help you?" "Kent, you're the problem." Bro. And here, Lynn gives Kent an out. She's like, "Why do you stay by my side?" Is it because she's just a noble? She's trying to give Kent an out, and he just don't get it. He is just fumbling this. His hands are made of butter. He's just not catching anything. And then Lynn leaves. So, okay. That support helps hammer in a major part of Lynn's character, that she doesn't feel like she belongs. Great. No, not great, she's not happy. But it's showing a part of her that you kind of see in the main story, but gets more fleshed out there. And it seems like, oh, Kent's just your normal knight. Haha, silly man. He doesn't understand emotions and hints. Unless, maybe, just maybe, Kent stops fumbling. He realizes he's dropping the ball, and then he manages to swoop underneath it and pick that back up. Because this support has Kent coming out to her again. He's approaching her about this. And Lynn tries to leave. She's like, "I don't want to deal with this. It's just going to be another conversation about how he's only here." And then he causes the animation budget to have to spend $500 to move his portrait slightly to the right and Lynn slightly to the left. He is physically grabbing her here. To someone who just thinks Kent is a normal knight with no real, emotions outside of stick up his butt, that seems wildly out of character for him. Kinda crazy that he would physically, grab Lynn in duress. That doesn't sound like him. And he gives a really good line here. "If I let go of your hand now, I would regret it for the rest of my life." He is about to put his heart on his sleeve here and realize what Lynn was talking about and be honest. He wants to answer her question and say he's here for her. Even if he wasn't a knight and she wasn't a lord, he would be there for her because he loves and cares about her. That is what Lynn wanted to hear from the start, and Kent was the one that realized that on his own. He didn't have to get it spelled out for him, which, given how the support started, you thought that's where that was gonna go. So it shows a side to Kent, a passionate side to Kent, that you don't really see elsewhere, and shows that he's not just his note of being stern and serious. And Lynn returns his affections in kind. So, for that A support was all about Kent showing a side to him that makes him more engaging, more interesting. He's not just the note that you think of a stern, serious character. So, it shows off a lot of Lynn's insecurities and feelings. It shows Kent being something that you don't normally see. It's a really good support chain. I'm not gonna call it my favorite pairing for Lynn. My favorite's Hector because I like white bread and room temperature water. But all of her pairings are pretty good. Ellawood's good, Florina's good. Wrath, I remember, was king. Like, if you looked up romantic Lynn content, you almost only got Wrath. And then I guess the fandom just got bored. Probably because in Heroes, Wrath took so long to show up. So newer fans didn't see her or see Wrath even. And it's kind of just like what Intelligent Systems and the fandom did with Crom and Sumiya, where Crom and Sumiya was super popular, and then everyone decided that that was boring, and actually Crom is with whatever flavor of Robin is most readily available. So it's just a good support for the two of them. And it just shows sides to Kent that help make him stand out from the other serious knights. He's not the same as Lance. He's not the same as Kyle. He's not the same as Noish. Or Alec, excuse me. Noish is the, rambunctious. No, yeah, Noish, not Alec. I always get Noish and Alec confused. And it's just a really good support for both of them. I also like that Kent doesn't tell Lynn to stand back. Like, a lot of the knight supports, even the ones I really like, they'll go, "Oh, you shouldn't be fighting on the front lines." And Kent's like, "No, go slay Queen, just don't overdo it." I like that. But Fire Emblem went, okay, we have a good thing going here. Yes, the support isn't that dynamic about a lord-lady love relationship, but keep in mind, this is only the second game ever with supports. So I still think it's good, because that's what Fire Emblem does really well. Fire Emblem is not some kind of intense geopolitical discussion about the intricacies of the human mind. Fire Emblem takes simple, adds a little bit of spice to it to make it their own, and just does it effectively. So, that's a really good support. And Fire Emblem went, wait, Princess Love Knight, that good. Do it again. Because in the very next game, Fire Emblem decided we have our lovely princess, and we can have her hook up with her dashing, serious knight, and we can make magic happen twice. And, for all intents and purposes, they succeeded really, really well. So the next support I'm going to go over is a similar concept. A princess and her serious knight falling in love. So, let's just get started here. The only context you need to this is that Seth got absolutely stabbed by Volter, and it did a lot of damage in the prologue of Sacred Stones. That's all you gotta know. So, this support begins with Erica coming up to Seth being worried about him, kind of flipping the gender roles of the Kent and Lynn support, because she's worried about his injury, and Seth tries to stave it off and be humble. Humility is a big aspect of Seth's character. He says he's only worried about the fact that she wasn't meant to see a man get stabbed and have blood gush out of his shoulder. That shouldn't be something she needs to see, and Erica asks him to show her the wound. Now, I guess apparently Seth just took his armor and shirt off to show her his shoulder? I don't know, Seth is a god, he doesn't need armor, but this really could have been better if it wasn't limited to the Game Boy Advance, but that is neither here nor there. And Seth is just wondering why she would care so much. And it's simple. She just sees that he's in pain. It's no grand reason, she just cares about him. And Seth tries to play it off again. He really doesn't want her caring that much about him. But Erica is just saying, oh my goodness, I couldn't do this without you. You're so strong and your AA ranks in swords and lances is imperative. And Seth tries to blow it off. Now, humility is a big aspect of Seth. In his support with Cormag, just to give an example, he tries to introduce himself, and Cormag's like, what the hell? What are you talking about? You're Seth. Of course I know who you are. And he pauses a minute. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then in his support with Franz, a similar thing happens. And if I'm just trying to cut to it, wasting time. Right, no, I'm in the wrong support. Seth kind of just shrugs off Franz's absolute fanboying of him. Like, he's humble. That's a very important part of Seth, and the support with Erica shows that off a bit. And then we're going to get to the B support. Erica is spending more of that incredibly deep animation budget to move slightly to the right, and she's looking to Seth for praise. And he gives it because Apparently, Erica's been lifting weights, and that week 4 base strength might, with a bit of magic and fairy dust, reach double digits by the end of the game. And Erica is looking to him, and is again praising him. She's fangirling over him just like Franz does, and just like Cormac does. And it's cute, sure. And here we get to the thing that, yeah. Seth's like, you should stay away from the front lines. You shouldn't be fighting. And Erica goes back and is just the same thing Roy says to Lance, the same thing Alencia says to Joffrey. She just can't stay back and let people die for her. And, okay, it's fairly by the numbers so far. And again, like I keep saying, by the numbers is not bad. It's showing that Erica is very kind, she understands the feelings of those around her. It's done before, but there's nothing wrong with that. Except what if there was? What if Erica caring about people was a problem? Not necessarily people in general, but Seth specifically. Because the A support kinda completely flips things. Erica wants to spend more time with Seth, wants more practice, and Seth has to say his piece. Because, while we're just looking at them like, oh, it's a lovely Lord and Knight trope thing, they are Lord and Knight. And Seth is coming out, being blunt, I am merely your subject, you have been too close to me. Seth is telling Erica to her face, stop falling in love with me. It is not right for a queen to do that with her knight. And that's not something Seth ever really does. Like, being that upfront with something to Erica's face, like, that catches her off guard. She can't finish a single sentence. She starts 3 sentences, 0 for 3 on actually finishing them. And Seth is again being blunt. Maybe Walter stabbing the crap out of him will hurt him for his entire life, but Erica needs to stop treating that like her own personal mission to make amends for. Because she has a lot more things to worry about than just Seth. She's the queen of an entire nation, and while it's very sweet that she cares about Seth, she can't show that kind of blind favoritism, and that is what Seth brings up, and it's something that rarely ever gets addressed. There are a few supports that bring up how knights and nobles should not fraternize like this. Wendy Lelina comes off the top of my head. And Seth being blunt about this brings a perspective that kind of takes Erica and the reader out of things, because he is correct. You can't just grow attached to something when you are responsible for thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of lives. Seth's line here is really good. If you cannot send your men to die, then you are not fit to rule. For a game like Fire Emblem, where permadeath is a main mechanic, that line speaks a lot louder than something if it were in the same game like Final Fantasy Tactics or Triangle Strategy. I love those games to death. Don't think that's a slight at them. Different games need different writing. So Seth coming to Erica and just saying that is depressing. You know, it was so sweet before. Erica was just being kind, and Seth was like, oh, you shouldn't. No, really, you shouldn't. And that's where we are. And Erica agrees. I had forgotten my place, I had forgotten my duty. In this context, that is really sad. That night, when, like, Seth was carrying her, they were riding away on horseback, it's a romantic idea. You know, just holding tight and being whisked away to safety. And Erica admits she fell in love with Seth in that moment, and that was wrong, because she's a queen and he is a knight. It takes a serious approach that's not really that feel-good. It's kind of sad, but kind of true. And so she has to accept that her feelings for Seth are wrong. And if that were the end of the support, it'd be a downer. An understandable downer, but a real downer. But Seth can't leave good enough alone. He comes back. Because not even a man as serious and stern as Seth can keep this inside of him. He confesses that he fell in love with Erica the same way. Similar to Kent and Lynn, he was caring about her not because she was his noble, she was his queen, but because she was Erica. He wanted to protect her because of her. And unlike with Kent, where Kent admitting to this was the resolution, this is Seth saying, this is wrong, this is the problem. So now, we're left with two people, Seth and Erica, who are in love with one another, but they both understand their stations forbid it. And you can kind of think that this is a cop-out, given how the support bring up how it was wrong, but in their ending, they do get married, and they do accept one another's love. And the Japanese script is a bit better at this. In English, they just kind of get married, and, you know, you can just see it as, oh, love wins, they couldn't keep their feelings bottled up forever. The Japanese script specifies, I believe it's Erica's persistence and Ephraim's matchmaking. So, like, Erica never gave up on Seth, and Ephraim was like, dude, just do it. Go on. You have the king's blessings. Are you really gonna turn those down? And it's a support that shows, first of all, for Erica, that she understands her station. She's naive, but she isn't stupid. And that's a huge difference. Normally, naive and stupid are considered hand in hand, and they can be, but Erica's not. She's a queen, she's of noble blood, she has to lead a nation, and she understands the consequences of that. And for Seth, it shows a side to him where he's genuinely being honest with himself, and showing that his stern nature and what it means to be a knight to him does mean he's gonna go against the lords that he talks to. There's also a scene in Ephraim's story where Seth basically argues with Ephraim to his face about what they should do, and he's not afraid to bring up when he thinks a lord is going wrong. And that's something that isn't necessarily true. You'd think he's a loyal dullard. In fact, I think I just stole that from Cormac. Cormac says he thinks he was that. But no, if he sees his lord and lady doing something he thinks is wrong, he's going to speak up. And that kind of makes him seem like more of, you know, a knight, not just a yes man. It helps humanize him. He's not just blind in his loyalty. So it's a really good support for both of them. And also, the idea that Seth brings up, like, oh, we're lord and lady, we shouldn't be together, it's not the first time he brings something like that up. I'm pretty sure Seth's support with Natasha, and you can definitely correct me on this, I think it's the only time in the entire franchise that the vows of chastity are actually brought up. Because Seth says, oh, would you like to come live with me? And she's like, I'm a cleric, I've sworn never to... And Seth is like, who cares? So, like, Seth is aware of what he's doing, and he's willing to go against nobility or even God himself if he falls in love with a woman hard enough. And I think that's awesome. So, I guess I kind of did this for Lynn. In terms of romances, I think I really like Seth and Erica. It's one of my favorites. It was Erica's most popular romance. I don't think it is anymore. As time has gone on, the fandom for this series has gotten exponentially gayer. So I'm pretty sure Tana or Larshel is her most popular romance. It actually might be Leon. Now that I think about it, Heroes really pushes Leon with the twins. And it's tragic, because that doesn't end well for anyone involved. But, like, I like all of them. Though I will say, if you can find anyone that even knows that Celet and Erica can hook up and get a daughter together, let alone has it as their favorite pairing for Erica, show me that person, because I don't think they're real. Ford is my favorite, though. And Inez is like, I also see a lot of Erica and Inez. So, like, honestly, I don't think any of Erica's romances are bad. I didn't think any of Lynn's were bad either. But it just shows sides to both of them. And you might be asking yourself, okay, so what was the point of all this? I just like Fire Emblem, and I liked those two supports. So I kind of just wanted to throw a video together because they're vaguely the same idea, and just gush. Have you not realized I love to gush about Fire Emblem at this point? So, yeah. If you enjoy seeing me gush and just go over supports with vaguely similar ideas, let me know. This is another video where I just don't have a script. It's just like my video on like why Fire Emblem supports are a good system, my video on you should let people die. I'm just sitting in front of my microphone, shooting the bull, talking about stuff I like. If you got any ideas for me to do, please let me know. I may or may not do them. I do read all of the comments, so please don't say anything nasty about me. Or honestly do, you know? I'm a YouTuber, not a cop. Tell me to kill myself.